Hi, my name is Sambi. Today we're going to be speaking with Mr. Lubhaan Kumar. Mr. Kumar graduated from Carnegie Mellon University with a Bachelor of Science in Statistics and Machine Learning with a minor in software engineering. After graduating, he became a software engineer at Facebook and has been in that role for 3 years. So, Mr. Kumar, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for that introduction. That was very well done.
Thank you for sharing your advice with us. So, are you ready to get started?
hmm I have
Okay.
the questions open next to me. Are you going to like read them out one by one? Okay,
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah. So, first of all, did you already know in high school that you wanted to pursue software engineering?
No, I didn't. I in high school didn't really know what I wanted to do. I feel like I was I wasn't really passionate about anything that much.
Mhm,
And at that point, I think my parents were just telling me that my parents and like pretty much everyone just told me that if you pursue something in the sciences, you keep your options pretty wide open. That
mhm,
was like pretty much my main guideline. I didn't really code I did some stats in high school, but I didn't really code at all, which is in some ways like I guess people who coded who started far earlier are obviously better.
mhm.
But no, I actually didn't like I had no knowledge. I just knew that I wanted to do some kind of engineering or some kind of science, but the
Got
exact like yeah, the specifics of it were never figured out.
got it. How much into undergrad did you decide to do software engineering?
Yeah, when I started undergrad, joined as a mechanical engineer,
Okay.
and then about a year and a half in, I switched to math, and then after that, I think towards the end of my sophomore year is when I said I'll do stats and machine learning because it was like a new major that had come up too. So I didn't honestly know about it when I applied for college either.
Hmm.
So I think 2 years in is when I switched to it.
Got it. And what made you decide to attend Carnegie Mellon, and what were your other options?
Yeah, so again, because I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do, I knew the a wild ballpark
Hmm.
because I knew I liked solving problems and I like numbers. That was like my scope of expertise. So
Hmm.
I was applying to mostly technical colleges. I got into a couple. I think UC Berkeley, UIUC, I think Cornell,
Oh
UT
my God.
Austin, but I mean, like I'm there people. Okay, sorry, it's an interview. Yeah. I think I went. I was pretty like I obviously didn't get into a lot of places as well, like Stanford and like a lot of big names. I didn't get into them. CMU was, I would say, not my top choice, but it was like in the upper quartile of it.
Hmm.
And so I kind of knew that if I got into it, it's a very good safety for me. Like if I get into it, I'll be very happy. I was also ED, so like once I got in, I had to also go for it, like either way. But I was like in that sense, I think of all the colleges I got, I think other than Berkeley, like they were pretty much on a similar level in terms of what I was trying to pursue. And I was ED, so that kind of narrowed it down for me that I'm going to be going here.
Hmm. Got it. And how did you like your experience at CMU, and what kind of extracurriculars were you involved in?
Yeah, I so the thing that I really like, which is like stood by where like how indecisive I've been in like in my high school and just like changing my majors was the flexibility I had.
Hmm.
Because I feel like a lot of people like start college thinking that they know what they want to do, and versus when you actually start doing something, like I think like I was under the same impression that I can just like fake it for 8 hours a day and then figure it out after that. But it's you can't obviously do that for too long. And so that was the flexibility in kind of figuring out what I wanted to do was great. Also the layout. I think this is pretty standard now, but like the fact that you have like general classes that you do in your first year that apply to a lot of different majors, and then in your second year is when you start specializing. So even if you switch towards your second, I know people who switch in like their third year as well. Like you're not falling too behind. Like maybe you have to like take extra classes one semester, or like I did summer school for like one semester because I had to catch up on some classes, but it wasn't. I tried out like three different majors till I found out like this is something that I really wanted. So that was a great. part. I think that applies to a decent amount of colleges now out there too.
Mhm.
But I was thankful of that in CMU. Then coming to like stat CS and like what I actually studied, I felt like there were a lot of good professors doing like a lot of good research projects, which uh towards your freshman or sophomore year, it's far harder to get an internship versus when you're like a junior, because most companies when they're coming in, they're naturally just looking for juniors, and then maybe it's like some of the bigger ones are looking for sophomores. So a lot of professors that you can like work with over the summer or do research and stuff like that. So like plenty of opportunities to build up your resume. Even with like extracurriculars, there were like a lot of clubs that one could partake in. There was like a robotics club, some CS clubs, like data science clubs and stuff like that. I was not involved in a lot of extracurriculars. I was on the rugby team for a bit, and then I was in a frat, but I didn't do a lot of, uh, I guess, academics related extracurriculars outside.
Mhm.
But like there were plenty of opportunities for people to do that too, and they would get funding, and they would like sometimes like their projects outside would shine out more than like their in domain like course projects. So there was plenty of opportunity for that as well.
Got it. And what kinds of internships did you do during college?
Yeah. So let's see. I was a research intern at like for a professor in my college for a semester. One of the semesters when I was doing summer school, because I was trying to catch up on classes, I was a teaching assistant for like CS courses I've taken. So
Mhm.
that like there are other people who are doing summer classes, and you're like their TA, you're like teaching them recitations and correcting their homeworks and doing exams and stuff like that. That was good because if you can teach a concept to someone, that's when you know like you've really gotten it pretty
Yeah.
well. And it was pretty fulfilling.
Mhm.
After that, my first real internship was at Bank of America as like a technical analyst.
Mhm.
And yeah, that was pretty much it. I think I technically only had one real internship.
Mhm. How did
Yeah.
you manage all of this work with all of your other responsibilities during college?
Uh, what do you mean by that? Like
Well,
just like life in general, or
I mean, you like one of your internships when you did them during the semester, how many hours did you have to dedicate, and was it hard to balance it with all the other work and studies that you had?
oh, so when I interned, I wasn't taking any classes. It was over the summer. So there were co-ops. There were a lot of times that people did co-ops, but
Mhm.
I never did one of those. For me, I didn't actually have, when I was interning, I had pretty much no other responsibilities, just my internship work, which is good. Like I didn't have any classes that gave me work over the summer. There were people who were also, again, if they were trying to do like an accelerated master's program, they had to also do research projects on the side, but I didn't have that. So it was pretty single minded for me.
Got it. And then, right after college, you became a software engineer at Facebook. How did you attain this job? Did you have an internship before, or did you know someone
Mhm.
in the company?
Yeah, that was, I applied for an internship initially, but I didn't get in.
Mhm.
And uh, I was I think that's another good thing about CMU is that they have very good connections with a lot of these big companies like Facebook, Google,
Mhm.
Microsoft. A lot of big tech firms hire pretty aggressively out there. So they had like job recruiting sessions that they would come in and like have a stall. They would have students who like me who have studied there, like who have graduated a couple of years, they would come there and like do some on the spot interviews, and then based on how that went, like do like longer interviews and then fly you out for like to like headquarters.
Mhm.
That's where I got my initial. That's where I got Facebook from, was when they had visited college and I went for one of those conferences. Uh, the guy who was there, I had TA'd with him, and he's like, I talked to him for a bit. He asked me what I've been doing out ever since, and he he liked me. He gave me like a shot at an interview, like on an on-campus interview. I had that. That went well. I had a phone interview, and then I flew out and had like the main one. So it was, in that sense, I was like very lucky that, because I'd also applied to them online and like a bunch of places online, and I hadn't really gotten anything. So that does, like when you have that in-person contact, especially when they come onto campus, it's like, and the fact that they like when he looked at my resume, he saw the classes I'd taken and he knew that he'd taken those too and like which ones were like okay, like he knows his shit or something like that. Yeah.
Mhm. Got it. And then at this job, what are your daily responsibilities?
Yeah. So I work as a software engineer. So I don't really, I use a little bit of stats just for like analyzing data, but I'm not a data scientist.
Mhm.
Uh, my role, my daily responsibilities have varied depending on my team. So again, I chose Facebook again, similar to CMU. I have a lot of flexibility. I've been here for 3 years.
Mhm.
I've been on three different teams. I was initially in California, then I wanted to be in New York. So I switched 2 years into New York, and then I switched again like a month back to like a different team,
Mhm.
which has been nice because I like trying out different stacks and you click with certain people or like you find some projects more interesting, stuff like that.
Mhm.
Right now, currently, I work on uh I work on IG Reels. So my daily responsibilities right now is like making sure I work on like the performance end. So like ensuring that the reels load up like decently, or there's like any performance regression, like it's taking too long to load, if it's
Mhm.
reliable, if you're like launching new experiments to like add new features and they're like people don't like it. I think Kylie Jenner had like recently like gone onto Twitter and said that she doesn't like the new Instagram update. Like that's something I ideally my team should have caught and like we should have reverted it. So it's like ensuring that the reels, because it's a very the video space right now is very competitive. And there's like a
Mhm.
lot of big players trying to like improve recommendations and make sure that they can add as many features to make it as creator friendly and user friendly as possible. So it's ensuring that, and there's no right answer. So it's like my team's goal is to like ensure that looking at these like either creating new metrics and seeing that how are they performing or like creating new projects to improve the reliability of reels and stuff like that.
Got it. Sounds interesting. So in the last 3 years of working at Facebook, how have you grown in the company and what do you think your future progress looks like?
Yeah, I think I've grown a lot. I've seen in the software engineering part, there's like you start off as a new grad engineer, then you grow levels to an intermediate, then there's a senior engineer, and then there's a technical lead who's like the leader of the team from a technical standpoint, which he's at the same level as a manager. So I all my I, I've given in the last 3 years, I've seen how like in college I would just kind of write code and just make it do something. I wasn't really, it was also like on a very small scale versus right now I'm actually making stuff that people are using and like there's general impact of it. So it's, uh, I'm learning the skill set that's required to become a senior engineer, the foresight of designing a system that other people can also like build on and make it better, or making it as error proof as possible.
Mhm.
Writing a lot of it is designing docs on like instead of just building something first, actually like writing like this project spec up. This is how stuff is gonna go, so that before we just run with it, people can like collaborate and say, "Oh, I think we should do this instead," and stuff like that. I've definitely felt like I've grown as an engineer over the last couple of years, where like
Mhm.
I've learned all these skills that are required in the industry.
Mhm.
And I've always felt like I've never felt like the smartest guy in the room, which is great too, because I feel like I'm just like absorbing information of like other people. So yeah, I feel like I'm learning a lot of stuff. And given the fact that I entered this space so very late, I feel like I'm just growing as like a better engineer in general at work.
Yeah, that's great. And then how do you think your work-life balance is? Are you able to take off time to travel? Do you have like normal hours?
Yeah, it's very flexible for me. I Most of my team now works on the West Coast,
Mhm.
so I I'm not a morning person or a night person. I like sleeping by 1 or 2, getting up at 9, but then I like doing my daily morning routine. Like I like going on like working out or like listening to music and like just doing my stuff in the morning. I have a lot of flexibility of like uh assigning what time in my calendar do I actually want to accept meetings. So
Mhm.
I like just allocate from like I'll take meetings from 1 p.m. to like 5 p.m., nothing before or like after, which is great. And I my manager is very open with me about talking about my bandwidth if I feel like I can take on more or what my ambitions are. Am I trying to like optimize on growth in any way if I'm trying to take on more projects, stuff like that. So my work-life balance has been like very good. And it's one of the reasons why I've continued working here is I like there are days when I just don't feel like working and then I don't have to work. I like and like as long as I get my stuff done on time, there's no expectation of you to like work 8 hours a day and be there before the boss is there and leave after. Like none of the old traditional stuff. I have yeah, it's like and which is what I like. I just like as long as I get my work done, it doesn't matter if I'm doing it at 9 a.m. or like at 11 p.m.
Mhm.
So I've enjoyed it a lot, and I think it was a pretty good balance.
That's good. Looking back at your education and training, is there anything you think you could have done differently?
Yeah, I guess in hindsight, I wish I had started coding earlier, just so I would have had like more than one internship,
Mhm.
which actually like helped me. Like even on my, I think like when I worked at Bank of America, I didn't really employ a tech stack that was as uh like high notch or like as like good as Facebook was, like compared to like other people that have worked like at a lot. I'd interned at a lot of big tech companies or like big startups and stuff like that. So I wish I had started earlier, but it also takes a while for you to like kind of navigate through what you want. Like in high school, I hated coding and I hated CS. Like I just didn't want to do any of it. So
Mhm.
it I maybe what I would have I wish I had a more of an open mind and tried out more stuff, like maybe law or med school as well. Like
Mhm.
I could have I feel like I was just lazy and just didn't do anything, which is I think the worst thing to do. And I think as long as you do something and find out if you don't even if you don't like it, at least you tried it out. But maybe yeah, just like trying out more stuff.
Got it. Um, and then for the last question, what are three pieces of
Hmm.
advice you would give to high school students looking to study statistics, software engineering, or work at big tech companies like Facebook?
Hmm. Yeah, I think like if you don't have to I would say the earlier you start, the better. Like, of course, you'll be ahead of. It's a very naturally a, increasingly becoming a very competitive space. There are a lot of people that are been in different domains and are now switching to CS and stats as well, just because they understand like how good the opportunities are and the work life balance and stuff like that. So I would say a like the earlier you start, the better. And it's B, it's not as like I feel like there's misconceptions about it being really hard, but it's not really that hard. I feel like anyone reasonably can pick it up. It's to a certain extent basic math and just like learning how to use it. So it's not it looks very intimidating, but it really isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And uh or be my last one. Like a lot of schools, like CMU for instance, is very good for CS. And I didn't get into CMU for CS because it's extremely competitive. They have a very low acceptance rate. Versus I got into this kind of hybrid program that was this partnership between the CS and SATS program. So you don't have to necessarily do pure CS. There's comp neuro, which is like CS and neuroscience. There's comps like sci, which is I think computer science and psychology. There's
Mm-hmm.
like a bunch of like these integrated majors out there that are far less competitive that people can get into, and you don't have to like compromise on your career choice because the opportunities you have after studying that are exactly the same as CS.
Got it. So there are many different fields and options for people with the same interest.
Yeah, because there's just so many people trying to gun for that one major. I feel like colleges have picked up on that and like are now releasing more majors because they're just like a skill that's higher in demand. Like, of course, not if you're in med or law, but I feel like even if you're in finance right now, or I have like pretty much everyone nowadays has to code a bit. So and colleges have picked up on that, so they're creating more and more majors that are away from like the traditional segregated streams of just like economics, chemistry, stuff like that. There's like a lot of hybrids out there, so you can pick one of those because they're naturally less competitive and you don't compromise on your other things. And maybe it's because all these domains also require CS knowledge right now. You can enter those specialized roles in those domains too. So you just
Mm,
open up a lot more doors for yourself. Yeah.
got it. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for your advice and sharing your experiences with us. Do you have any other thoughts to share?
No, thank you so much for letting me do this.
Yeah,
It's
thank
great.
you for joining us.